Okay, already. Good morning, Kevin. We are from Group 5, and today we'll present about the foundations of group behavior. So, first of all, it's about the defining and classifying groups. There are several definitions of a group. So, generally, a group is two or more individuals interacting and interdependent who have come together to achieve particular objectives. And for a formal group, it is a designated work group defined by an organization structure. An informal group is a group that is neither formally structured nor organizationally determined, such a group appears in response to the need for social contract. Social identity theory is a perspective that considers when and why individuals consider themselves members of groups. It is a tendency to personally invest in the accomplishments of a group. And once we can feel that our social identities are positive, it can give a good experience outcome to help us understand who we are, where we fit in with other people, bring us better health, and also lower level of depression. There are in-groups and out-groups favoritism. For the in-group, it is a perspective in which we see members of our in-group as better than other people, and people not in our group as all the same. For the out-group, it is the inverse of an in-group, which can mean everyone outside the group, but is more usually an identified other group. So the in-groups and out-groups will pave the way to social identity threat, which is similar to a stereotype threat, which is an individual belief that they will be personally negatively evaluated due to their association with a devalued group, and they may lose confidence and performance effectiveness. So the stages, there are punctuated equilibrium model. It is a set of phases that temporary groups go through that involves transitions between inertia and activity. There are 6 stages. The first one is the meeting sets the group's direction. Then the first phase of group activity is one of inertia and thus slower progress. A transition takes place exactly when the group has used up half its allotted time. This transition initiates major changes. A second phase of inertia follows the transition, and the group's last meeting is characterized by markedly accelerated activity. This is the group property 1, which is the roles. So a role is a set of expected behavior patterns attributed to the occupying a given position in a social unit. And a role perception is an individual's view of how he or she is supposed to act in a given situation. Role expectations is how others believe a person should act in a given situation. Psychological contract is an unwritten agreement that sets out what a manager expects from an employee and vice versa. Role conflict is a situation in which an individual is confronted by divergent role expectations, and interrole conflict is a situation in which the expectations of an individual's different, separate groups are in opposition.
Next, we move into the second group property, which is norm. Next. So what is norm? So norm is an acceptable standards of behavior shared by members that express what they must do or not do under certain circumstances. Next. Now, norms and emotions. So in a test group, individuals' emotion influence the group emotion and vice versa. So frequent communication can increase the power of norm within the group. Norm also dictate the experience of emotion for the individuals and for the groups. So in other words, people grew to interpret their shared communication in the same way. For example, like in a family, when one emotion of the family, it can influence the other emotion of the entire family. Next is norm and conformity. So what is conformity? So conformity is the adjustment of one's behavior to align with the norm of the group. So as a member of a group, you desire an acceptance by your group, although you are susceptible to conforming to the group norms. Next, there is reference groups. So reference group is an important group to which individual belong or hope to belong, and with those norm individuals are likely to conform. So people would like to be a member, and when they are in the reference group, it feels like the group of members are significant to the person or himself. Next, there is norms and behavior. So norms can cover any aspect of a group behavior. When an individual is put in a group, the role performance become controlled by the group norm. Most of the members should establish this idea of a fair output and ensure that everything will become equal. Next. Next, we have positive norm and group outcomes. So as we know, every organization wants to get a positive outcome from their group. But there are also some factors that need to be present. So like example, when a person is not comfortable with the group, it can cause mess. Although as powerful as norm can be, not everyone is equally susceptible to positive group norm. Individual personalities factor into, as well as the level of a person's social identity with the group. Next. Next, we have negative norms and group outcomes. So in negative norm, we must first know the term of deviant workplace behavior, or is also called behavior or a workplace infacility. So it is a voluntary behavior that violates significant norm, and in doing so threaten the well-being of the organization or its member. So when there is a person in this negative norm, the organization can be a mess and the group will not work properly. And mostly negative behavior will be like undermining the other coworkers or being generally uncooperative. There is also norms and culture. So as we know, people from different cultures have different norms than other people in individualist culture. Next. Now we move on to group property number three, which is status. Next. So what is status? Status is a socially defined position or rank given to groups or group member by others. So even though the smallest group show different in member status over time. Next. So what determines status? So according to status characteristic theory, there is three ways. The first one is the power a person wields over others. The second is the person's ability to contribute a group goal. The third is an individual personal characteristic. Next. So this is the 5 way. First, there is status and norm. Second, there is status and group interaction. Third, there is status inequity. And then fourth, there is status and stigmatization. Fourth, there is fifth, group status. Next. Now for the next group property, it's group property number 4, which is size and dynamics. So in negative and size and dynamics, there is social loafing. So there is ways to prevent social loafing. The first way is to set a group goal. Make sure that the group have the same vision and mission. And then the second one is increase the intergroup competition. So there will be a motivation for them to work. And then third, engage in peer evaluation. And the fourth is we must select good members so the people in the organization can work well. And then the last, there is a base group reward.
And now we are going to the group property 5 is cohesiveness and group property 6. Next, please. Next. So group property by cohesiveness is group different in the cohesive cohesiveness. Their degree with members are attractive to each other and motivate to stay in the group. So what can we do to encourage group cohesiveness? So the first, it make groups smaller. The second, encourage agreement with group goals. The third, it increase the time members spend together. The fourth, it increase the group status and the perceived different difficulty and attaining membership. The fifth is stimulation competition with other groups. The sixth, give reward to the group rather than to the individual member. And the last is physically isolate the group. Next. Group property seek diversity. The final property of the group is diversity in the group member or the degree to which member of the group are similar to or different from one another. Next, please. Group decision making. Next. Groups versus the individual. So the is strength of group decision making. Group generate more complete information and knowledge. It's like the group bring more input by aggregation of several individual, and they offer increased diversity of view. This open up the opportunity to consider more approach and the alternative. And the final is group lead to increase the acceptance of a solution. So this is like group members who are participate in making a decision are more likely to enthusiastically support and encourage others to accept it later. The quickness of group decision make group decision are time consuming because the group typically take more time to reach a solution. They are conformity pressures. Group decision can be dominated by one or a few members. Finally, group decisions suffer from abuse responsibility. Next, please. And this is effectiveness and efficiency. So groups are more effective than individual depend on how you define effectiveness. Group discussion are generally more accurate than the decisions of the average individual in a group. If creativity is important, groups tend be more effective, and if effectiveness means the degree of acceptance of achievable solutions. Next, please. Next is grouping and groupship. Two byproduct of group decision making, grouping and groupship can affect a group ability to appraise alternative objectively and achieve high quality solution. So group thinking is related to the norm and describe situation in which group pressures for conformity. Neither the group can be critically appraising unusual minority or unpopular views. Group think attacks many groups and can dramatically their performance. Groupship describe the way group members tend and exaggerate their intel position when discussing and give set of alternatives. So arrive at a solution. In some situation, caution dominates and there is a conservative, while in the other situation, group tend toward a risky ship. Next. Group ship and group polarization. The group decision reflect the dominant decision make norm and then toward greater caution or more risk. And the last is develops during discussion. This can view the group polarly, polarization as a special case of group thinking. So how you can use the finding of group shape? You can recognize the group decision, exaggerate, and then initial position of individual members that the ship have been shown more often to the toward greater risk, and that which way a group will shape is a function member prediscussion inclination. Next. Group decision making technicals. The most common form of group decision making takes place is interacting groups. And brainstorming can overcome the pressure for the conformity that dampen creativity. Be encouraged. Be encouraged any and on alternative while withholding criticisms. Um, Nominal group technique more effective. This technique restrict discussion and interpersonal communication during the decision-making process. Next, please. So this is the special problem it presented, and then the group takes the following step. So the first is before any decision take place. So this is like each member independently writing down idea about the problem. And the second is after the first one, there will be silent period. So each member present one idea to the group, no discuss take place until all ideas have been presented and recorded. And the third is the group discusses the idea for the clarity and evaluate them. And the last one is each group member silently and independently rank others, rank other the ideas, like the idea with highest aggregate ranking determine the final decisions. That is all for our presentation for the topic 5. Thank you.